Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free. That's my cat Ernesto in the background. Sorry, I went to check on my cat. He's okay. Is something bothering you, King? Anyways, if you hear him in the background, I did check on him. I don't know what's bothering him. Anyways, if this is the first episode of mine that you are stumbling upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. If you're listening to this on YouTube, like and subscribe. Thanks so much for tuning in. So this episode is kind of going to be like a mishmash of my TV thoughts, nothing. Ernesto, please do not buy my computer cable. Please, that costs money. Being a parent is so hard. So this episode is going to be kind of a bunch of different shows and not really a recap style, kind of like what I did last week. I'm just going to kind of share my thoughts on Love is Blind, High Potential. I want to touch on the Yellowjackets news because I do cover Yellowjackets on this podcast. I do really love Yellowjackets. I have a lot to say about Yellowjackets. So I will be talking about that. Timestamps will be in the description. Feel free to hop around if you don't really care about one show or another. Apologies if this episode is a little shorter than normal. I feel like I don't have a ton to say this week, but I didn't think I was going to have a ton to say about Love is Blind last week, and then I did. So anyways, the first thing I want to talk about is Yellowjackets. So we got the news. I feel I'm so dramatic. I'm being so dramatic. But we got the news that Yellowjackets season 4 will be its final season. And I'm feeling a lot of things. Now, any Yellowjackets warrior, any fan for a while knows that they have had this 5-year plan for a while that's been discussed. And I had heard rumblings. I don't remember where I heard this because this was months ago. But when season 3 was airing, I remember hearing before they had officially gotten picked up for season 4 that like they were pretty sure that they were going to get picked up for season 4, but they were working out like whether it would be like, I don't know. I remember hearing that they were like for sure going to get a season 4, but like they didn't know if they would do a season 5. So like I have to be honest, I did like maybe think, okay, season 4 will be the end. But when it got picked up for season 4 and they didn't announce right away that it was the final season, I was like, okay, maybe we'll still get season 5. Like, you're always hopeful, you know? So it was really sad to hear. I'm trying to remain hopeful. My ideal scenario, because here's the thing, I really wanted, my biggest critique of Yellowjackets has always been that I feel like there's not enough. They cut so much out, like the actors will be like, we filmed like way more, we filmed extra, and then it's like cut down so much. And I think that's been my biggest critique of Yellowjackets already, that it is a little bit stressful to think of like, how are we going to wrap up everything that I personally would want to see in one season if it's 10 episodes. Like they cut out so much. Like apparently in the end of the season, like season 3, when they're doing the hunt that eventually ends up with Mari being Pit Girl, there was a whole plot kind of, I guess, cut out, or at least a few scenes that explained the fact that the other girls were going along with this because they were trying to kill Shauna. That wasn't like explicit in the show, but that was explained like from some actors said that like there was stuff cut out that had the other girls, right? Because there was kind of like a divide in season 3, and the people who were against Shauna had kind of come up with this plan. They agreed to the hunt so they could have a reason to kill Shauna, and that didn't end up in the cut. The Ty and Van stuff too at the end of season 3, when after Van dies, apparently that was also longer than was shown. I know Jasmine talked about how in season 2, when she gives her whole speech to, like when they find out that Shauna's been talking to Jackie's corpse for like months in the meat shed, apparently that scene was much longer. the scene where this was in season 3 when we finally get the reveal that Natalie knew, like when Natalie finds out that Misty was the one who broke the black box. Apparently they like that scene was a whole thing they filmed, but then in the finale of season 3 it was just like a flashback and they intercut it with another thing, which I really like the way they did that, and I loved the song. It was like an original song, Sleepwalking. I really like the opening of the season 3 finale. I'm not like criticizing it, but like my point is that I tend to take issue with, and I really miss, like I tend to take issue with the way TV works in the 10 episode seasons already, because I feel like watching an older show that had 20 episodes, you really get so much depth to the stories in a way that I feel is very often missing in shows today. But I think it just especially hits hard with a show like Yellowjackets when you know that they write so much more and they film so much more and then they edit it down so much that... Anyways, I'm going on all these unnecessary tangents, but my point is that my biggest issue with Yellowjackets has always been the pacing, and not even the pacing, but just feeling like there's not enough. Like they have a certain amount of time that they're working with, so they try to get it down as concisely as I can. And do I think that there are things that I wish they would prioritize over others? Yes, but like all that aside, I think it is just kind of scary because it's like, I don't know how much we're going to get. And in my ideal world, we would get like a full season that really covers the end of winter and then like immediately after rescue and then a whole post-rescue season. Like that's what that would have been my ideal. Season 4, we get like day by day, or maybe not day by day, but like very, very detailed the last winter, because so many more people have to die before they get rescued. Like I just wanted to see that first and get that fleshed out a bit more and get like post-rescue. I don't know. I was already stressed when watching Yellowjackets that I don't feel like we get enough. So now I'm like anxious because I'm like, how are they going to fit everything that I would want to see? So anyways, all that being said, what I would want to see out of season 4, what I hope, they're not going to listen to me, but here's what I would really want. I would want at least a solid, like the first 3 episodes. I would want ideally like 15 episodes for the season. Will that happen? Who knows? In my ideal world, there's 15 episodes for the season. I mean, 20 would be great, but like, let's say it's 15 episodes. The first 5 episodes are just the final winter in terms of the wilderness timeline. I have no vision for what they would do for the adult timeline because I have no idea. Anyways, I hope Hilary Swank dies. Not the actual actress. I wish her no ill will. I hope Melissa dies in the adult timeline. That's what I want for season 4 for the adult timeline. I hope Melissa dies because I'm mad at her still. Anyways, all that to say, I really would like a solid, like the first 3 episodes minimum of the teen timeline are the final winter. I want that as detailed as possible. I want like that to like pack a punch. And then like we got a good amount of post-rescue. Like I'll be really devastated if we don't get much post-rescue, or even a very interesting way to do it. I don't know why my cat is meowing in the background. I like have checked on him and I have no idea what's wrong. And it's like, Ernesto, what's wrong? Do you want to speak into the microphone? He doesn't want to speak now that the microphone's in front of him. Anyways, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I think a really interesting way that maybe they could do this is, like, for example, the episode, like, season 3, the finale, it opened, like, we ended I don't remember how many episodes there were last season. Like 9? Were there 9 or 10? Whatever. The penultimate episode in the teen timeline, we ended with Natalie finding Misty and the black box. And we didn't pick up immediately with that. We picked up with, like, after some time had passed, right? And then we got flashbacks to it. So maybe something like that where it's like we pick up, or even like season 2, the first episode opened with we see Lottie getting on the plane. Like something like that where it's like we pick up kind of with them post-rescue and then it kind of moves backwards. That would be interesting. Like it weaves together the post-rescue timeline with the aftermath of like that would be cool too if they don't want to do it chronological, where it's like we kind of pick up after they're home and then that's intercut with like the end of their time there. That could be interesting too, is like they're processing everything that's just happened, we're witnessing it. Like that could be interesting. I don't think it needs to be like immediately, like I think there are interesting ways that they could do that, where we would get equal amounts of like them adjusting back to society while still getting the full details of everything that happened before they got rescued, because there's still a lot to happen. Questions that I really want answered. What was the thing that they did when they got back? That was something that the Jackie said in the freezer to Shauna in season 3. It's like, it wasn't just about what they did out there, but what they did when they got back. I have a lot of questions about that. I really, really desperately want to see a good amount of them adjusting back into society, but I also really, really want to see a good amount of them in the winter and like the way that transpired. So it's like, I'm really torn. But I would love to see like the press. In season 1, there's so much like discussion of like, what did they do out there? This has been like a conversation, right? They were a scandal. They were a news story, to the point where like Jessica Roberts is interviewing them like 25 years later. There's all this mystery about what they did out there. I would love to see, and I've had so many questions too about like, did they do any forensics, or like, did they not? Were the families not like, I want the remains of all my loved ones? Because then, you know, they would be able to tell who died in what ways. Like, I'm really interested in the like, and there's a lot of theories. I've said before that there are theories that people have that Lottie's dad covered up stuff like that because they were a conversation, right? So it's like, if there were all these questions around them, how were they not investigated? Was it like people were just so happy that they were home? Was there never any investigation into like, was it error, like plain error? I was also really interested too, when we got introduced to the hikers, or not the hikers, the frog scientists. I was very confused because Callie started doing all this research about how like these frog scientists disappeared like in the winter of 1998. And so she made that connection when she like figured out like whatever. And I thought that was interesting because when we were introduced to them, I was like, aren't they going to be connected? So I, like, obviously that means Hannah isn't making it home. Not that I thought she was, but I'm just like really interested how it's explained. Like, I'm really interested in the aftermath. I really want to find out like what they did when they got back. I don't know. I have so many questions and there's so much more that I want to see. I don't know what I want out of the adult timeline. I think that's my biggest question mark. I'm excited to see where Callie goes. I think Callie as a character is like the most interesting character in terms of what I like, where she's gonna go now. And I wish she wasn't connected to Jeff. I don't give a fuck about Jeff. I'm sorry. I hope Brandy isn't even in the season. I hope that Melissa's wife finds out who she is and thinks she's a weirdo. My hope for the adult timeline is that Melissa Hatt either loses everything or dies. I really can't stand her character, and I'm sorry to her personally, but like genuinely I can't stand her. I don't like Melissa Hatt's character. I don't like you, Melissa Hatt. I don't. But yeah, I guess it's just, I want more. And I think because I want more of things that they end up cutting short, it like upsets me when we get so much of things that I'm like, who cares? Like genuinely, and right now I'm in the process of rewatching season 3 because I am finally getting to my deep dive. I started working on this months ago, and then Big Brother started and I got really busy because not only was I covering Big Brother, but I was also covering The Summer I Turned Pretty at the same time. So like my episodes were like 2 hours long, and that was after I edited them down. So I was already like, the podcast took me so much time that I didn't have much spare time in terms of creative pursuits. So I wasn't working on the deep dive. But now that the podcast has kind of slowed down, I'm only really doing like 1 hour episodes. I'm not really like, I'm just kind of, it's a lot more chill now. I've started up my Yellowjackets season 3 deep dive again. And I'm really remembering, I mean, not that I forgot this because I didn't, but like the Joels get so much airtime. Jeff's storyline gets so much airtime. There are things that I just like, I wish that they could have done better. And for me, it really just comes down to like not getting enough time, because I'm like, Lottie's sleepwalking, Lottie and Callie's relationship, we could have gotten so much more of that. That would have made that final reveal that it was Callie who killed Lottie that much more impactful. So for me, it's my biggest like anxiety with the fact that this is the final season is the fear that things will be rushed, because I've already felt that when I wasn't worried about like the time restraint. I do have hope, and I'm trying to remain positive. I think my biggest question mark is how the adult timeline is going to go. Like, I don't know where they're going to go from here. I really don't. Anyways, that's all I have to say about Yellowjackets. If I have more thoughts, I'll talk later. I'll talk at a separate time. So the next thing, and apologies for anyways that was kind of choppy. I'm sure I'm going to have to edit it down to make kind of cohesive sense, because I kept like stopping and restarting because my cat was stressing me out. Love him to death. Anyways, the next show I want to talk about is High Potential. So the episode that aired on Tuesday the 9th, I loved this episode. It was like a present case connected to a cold case. So it was like this woman had like called and said that she witnessed a shooting and then she died. And it was like, how are the two connected? Like, they thought maybe she was killed because she witnessed something, but then they realized that she was like remembering an old murder that she witnessed. So it was very interesting the way that it was like an old case was connected to a present case. I really, really liked it. I really liked the ways that the past and the present like connected with each other, and it felt very much pretty not at all, but it reminded me of something I really loved about Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, which was like generational trauma and the impacts that has on us. Because the spoiler for High Potential, the episode that aired on October 9th, it was basically like somebody had been murdered in the 90s, I think, or the early 2000s, and that person had a daughter, and her daughter ended up like killing a woman who had covered up her mom's murder. And so it was really, really compelling. I love the way High Potential does things. And also, like, there's something very human about the people who end up being the ones to commit the murders or the whatever mystery they're trying to solve. Like, it feels very human and not like anybody is cartoonishly evil. Like, even the people who do the bad things, you're like, they're not a monster in a way that I think is really effective storytelling wise, because I think very often during cop shows or crime shows, at least for me personally, I feel myself like really, I think it's also hard because I'm like, what else I think it's important. And obviously this is fictional crime, but I just think that, and it's why I love Yellowjackets, I think humans are a lot more complex than just like good and evil. And I think a lot of the times when people commit crimes or they do horrible things or they inflict violence upon other people, it's not an excuse. There's never an excuse for that. But it's like people who do horrible things are still people. And I think by demonizing people and removing their humanity in the context of telling a story about how they like did something horrible, I think that just does a disservice to human beings, because I feel like then we are able to other people who do bad things, and in othering people who we view as abhorrent or evil or whatever, we separate ourselves from harm and violence and just quote unquote evil, when I think a lot of us cause harm in different ways. And obviously we're not killing people, but I think just demonizing people and acting like somebody is evil or just like one-dimensionally bad removes, like, I feel like it removes the mirror that is in front of us when we're looking at like a bad situation. It's like, okay, this person, I don't know. It's why I really like Yellowjackets, and not to go on another Yellowjackets tangent, but it's just like, it's why I love Yellowjackets, because to me, there isn't a character that is like purely evil. I really don't view them that way. So like, I appreciate that about High Potential, because it's like the people who are guilty, there's like a humanity to them. And maybe that's dramatic. I don't know. Maybe I'm over like analyzing a show that shouldn't be that serious. But I did appreciate that about High Potential, because it's like I felt for the woman who killed the other woman, even though obviously she did something horrible. You know what I mean? And like the episode before, which I talked about in my last podcast episode, like the man who was guilty, he wanted a heart for, or maybe it wasn't a heart, but he wanted an organ for his mother. So it's like, you know, it's a commentary on like society at large in a lot of ways, because it's like the healthcare system is fucked up and people are, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Anyways, sorry to ramble and I'm not making any sense, but I think it's a really good show because it humanizes everybody. Like I think the writing is good when you can see somebody do something bad and be like, that was bad, but I still see them as a human, versus just like everybody who does something bad in this show is like a cartoon villain. You know what I mean? I think that's good writing when you can feel yourself being like, I see that person, like how they got to that place, or like I just really appreciate that about High Potential, and I really like the show. I really recommend it. Anyways, moving on. The next show I want to talk about is Love is Blind, unfortunately. I'm coming around to this season. I have to be honest. I think, and I don't know why I'm like saying this as if it's a revelation, because I feel like I already knew this about myself, but I really don't like the pods. I really don't like the pods. They piss me off. I really don't like the pods. Like the thing is, I think the pods are great and they're necessary, obviously, but I think they need to revamp the way that they edit the pods. Okay, the pods are like the first 6 episodes and half the people we follow in the pods become irrelevant. What the fuck are they doing with the editing of the pods? Because the second batch of episodes, 7 through 9, even though we had less episodes, more happened. More happened. I feel like I'm more invested in people. I dislike people more than I ever did in the pods. So like genuinely, Love is Blind editors, fix the way you do the pods, okay? I'm bored. I'm bored of the pods. I don't like it. It's too much of the pods. It's too much. And I also find it really confusing how for 9 seasons now, I mean, I don't know about the behind the scenes of season 9, because every season there's here are the couples that got engaged that we didn't follow. Like there are articles written about that. I haven't seen any about season 9 yet. I don't know if there was an engaged couple that they didn't end up following. But like that is something that they've done where like couples get engaged but they don't follow them on the show. Why do they do that? But then we get so much of the irrelevant people in the pods. At least like I like the Brittany and Leo stuff from what I think that was season 7. Who knows? When we at least got an explanation where it was like, maybe they'll pick us, maybe they won't. And we got like a title card where it was like they didn't end up going on the vacation. We never even get that. We see all this backstory of these people who end up not becoming characters at all. But then apparently there are whole romances that happen that are completely cut. Like, can't you at least show them to us and then be like, they didn't... Who cares? Like, it's really annoying to me the way they edit the show. Like, the producing of the show is really annoying. The casting of the show is really annoying. But anyways, let me move on to my thoughts on the couples, and I'll stop complaining about Love is Blind. Okay, or like the actual production. So Ali and Anton, finally we're getting some juice. Finally we're getting some meat to them. So I really like Ali. I don't really want her to end up with Anton. I don't know if she's going to. So the big drama, if you will, between Ali and Anton, and it's not even drama because it doesn't really become anything, and I'm really hoping that it will. But again, I don't have faith, because the thing is, if I was watching another show, depending on the show, but like a good reality show, I'm like, they'll have brought that up because it's going to become a factor later. But I just don't have faith in Love is Blind that the reason they brought something up is because it's going to become a factor later. So I don't know, actually. But basically, in these episodes, a big portion of it is people meeting each other's families and friends and everything. And Ali meets Anton's best friend and Anton's friend's girlfriend of 4 months. And they go to the bathroom, and we don't see them, obviously, but there's like audio of them talking. And Ali's Anton's friend's girlfriend reveals that Anton and his friend, whose name I don't remember now, used to frequent strip clubs. That was their thing. They went to strip clubs all the time. And Allie's like, oh, he didn't tell me that. And it's like, are we going to find out? Like, is this going to be something that comes to fruition? And it never does. It never does. That was in episode 8, and then in episode 9, it's like not really brought up. She brings it up when she's talking to the women at like the party that they have, but between Ali and Anton, it's not really discussed on camera. We do get some insight when she's talking to the other women that like she brought it up, and he said that like he like explained it away of like that was, you know, I don't remember what exactly was his excuse now that I'm thinking about it. But like, anyways, and there's something there, and I really do hope that this comes to fruition, that she brings it up again, that she doesn't end up with him. I really don't like him with her. Like, I don't know. She's so sweet. Like, I just really like her, and I don't like him. And I also just don't think that they're compatible. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with if you... Now my other cat is meowing. I really can't catch a break. I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, if partying is your lifestyle, like, to each their own. But clearly that's not something that Ali wants. I also think there's something, like, a little bit annoying about the fact that, like, Ali clearly values certain things that Anton doesn't, of, like, she wants to have nice things and she wants her man to provide for her in certain ways. And he's been very hesitant about this, and like that's been like a little conversation throughout these episodes of like, first it was the engagement ring, and she was like, I think engagement ring should cost this much. She talks about like things that she wants financially, and like there's been a lot of like conversation about that, and he's kind of like very often talks about it as if she's like asking for too much. And I just have to say that I'm like, I don't really... If your hobby is going to strip clubs all the time and like you're a huge partier, then I just don't think that you're like the best in terms of spending your money, because alcohol costs a lot of money, especially if you're going out and you're drinking at bars a lot. Like, I feel like that's a lot of money you're spending. If you're going to strip clubs, I imagine that you were giving, like, if your hobby, your free time is spent going out a lot, then clearly you're spending your money in certain ways. So it's like this weird, you know, hesitancy of like, she wants too much. It's like, you spend your money, I don't know. And it's also like, she's a nurse, she works hard. Also, they both work the night shift, and he like starts his day drinking like 2 beers, which like, yes, that's the end of his day because he worked the night shift. But like, and I say this as somebody who like, I don't work nights in the same capacity. Like, I don't work 12-hour shifts or like, you know, like true night shifts, but I have weird hours. I work from 3 to 11. So when I get off of work, it's 11 p.m. and most of the time I do want to decompress a little bit. I end up going to bed like sometimes at like 4 or 5 because I don't have like the typical time after work that other people have. And while I try to, you know, do stuff that I need to do, like errands or groceries in the morning before work, so it doesn't become an issue for me. But I say this as somebody who like sometimes has an like, you know, unconventional schedule where I go to bed late and I wake up at like noon because I'm like, well, you know, I don't have work until like 3. So anyways, I say this as somebody who works weird hours. I feel like for your mental health, you need to have some kind of, like, at the end of the day, if you live somewhere, like, unless you live somewhere where, like, you know, it's night all the time or it's day all the time, like, unless you're in, like, Alaska, the earth still has a certain rhythm and your body still has a certain circadian rhythm. And I feel like it's still unhealthy, even if it's the end of your day, to start the day, it's the sun is coming up with alcohol. I don't think that's healthy. That's just my opinion. I just don't think that they're compatible, and I think she deserves better, and I don't like him. He gives me, but I don't like him. Not that I really like any of them, but who do I like? I said last episode, and it was so funny because I recorded that before I watched like the second drop of episodes, but the podcast went out after those episodes did, and I like cracked myself up because I was like, I really like Jordan, and then literally like the day the podcast came out, I was like watching Jordan make a chicken smoothie, and I was like, I can't believe I just endorsed this man. Oh my God. Okay. First thing I need to say about, I'm so sorry, this isn't related to Jordan, but when I was talking about Madison and Joe, I referred to her as Anna. Her name is Madison. It's not Anna. I'm so sorry to her. Hopefully everybody knew who I was talking about. There was like Anna, there was Annie. I'm so sorry to Madison that I confused you. I'm so sorry. But anyways, back to Jordan. I had said in my episode that he was like the one I liked the most, and then he made a smoothie with chicken, and I was like, I can't believe I just endorsed him. He's disgusting. But I have to say, as much as I find that gross, I still like him. I really respect the fact that like he's not showing his child on camera. I thought that was like, I kind of assumed that we weren't going to see his kid on camera because like we didn't see photos of him at all. So I was like, I imagine we're not going to see him. And we did get confirmation from Megan when she was talking to the other women that like she has met Luca's mom and that she's gonna meet him later, but they're doing it off camera, which I appreciate. I don't think children should be on TV in that capacity. I think children deserve their privacy. So I'm glad that he's not gonna be on camera. I think that's the better decision. And I still just really like Jordan and Megan. I am rooting for them, like genuinely I am. I think, I don't know, they seem like they balance each other well. Like I'm rooting for them. I don't know, like there's just something about it that I really, really like. And I think at the end of the day, the diabetes thing for me is like a big deal because I'm like, I just think there's something very important about having people in your life who understand a chronic illness, especially if it's like the very specific illness that your child has. I think that's like a very, very beautiful connection because I feel like there's a lot about something like diabetes that people don't understand the day-to-day of. I mean, literally that other guy who I literally cannot stand, like didn't even know there were different types of diabetes. So for me, I do think that that's something that like, I don't know, I think she would be a good addition to their family. I like them together. The smoothie, the chicken smoothie, I'm never going to forget that. That was really gross. I don't know why he did that. I'm a vegetarian, so maybe I just find it especially revolting, but it's like, why wouldn't you just eat the chicken? Like, I understand protein powder because it's like, okay, that's like a condensed, like it's a certain amount of protein in a condensed thing, but it's like, if you're not adding protein to it. It's just the amount of protein that you would get in a chicken, like cutlet or whatever that is. So why don't you just eat the chicken with like some nice rice and vegetables? Grounded up chicken in a smoothie can't possibly taste good. So then it's like, what, you just don't want to have to chew it? I don't understand that. Then isn't like bone broth a thing? Again, I'm a vegetarian, so like I don't consume any of that, but I'm like, there have to be good ways to get protein that don't involve you blending a chicken. That's weird. But I don't know. I like Jordan, and I like him with Megan. When we saw Megan talk to Mike at, like, the party thing that they did at a rodeo for some reason, or not a rodeo, it was like a cowboy bar or whatever. They were all dressed like cowboys, like with the hats and the boots, and they did a mechanical bull and everything. I really, like, I like that conversation, and I like the fact that she was like, I don't regret my choice. She's like, she apparently lives in LA like half the time, or maybe not half the time, but she like goes to LA a lot, and she was like, I would worry that you wouldn't be faithful to me. I really like that she just said that straight up to his face. But it's like, it's nice to me that she feels good with her decision. And you know what? I like them together. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe it'll end horribly. But there's something about them that like I really am rooting for, because I do think that there's like a nice bond and understanding they have. And I think when there is somebody who's like a single parent, I think having the other person be so like open to it in a really respectful way too, you know, because I feel like that there is like, you know, there are not respectful ways to go about like being a step parent. like, I really like her approach to him and his parenting and the co-parenting and Luca, and I like her. I like the way that she's approaching things. I'm rooting for them. What can I say? KB and Edmund, they've lost me. I really, like, the thing is, he didn't fully lose me. Like, he did a little bit. Like, I was like, I don't know if I like this after the way that episode 6, I think, ended with the, like, weird sex thing where he's like, I'm the only person here not having sex. I really didn't like that. I have to be honest. But you know what? They kind of won me over a little bit. They seem to be going okay. I really enjoyed when she met his mom. That was really great to me. They won me over a little bit where I'm like, okay, this was like a weird conversation they had, but they seem to have worked through it, and she's not like angry about it or like holding any like negative feelings. Whereas like there are other couples where it's like they had some kind of conflict and you can tell that it's still weighing on them and the tension is still in the air. It didn't feel like that at all with KB and Edmund. He did apologize for the way that he talked about it. Like, they seemed okay and they seemed to move past it. And I was like, okay, I kind of like them. I don't know. They're a question mark for me because all those little moments do add up. My cats are fighting. I'm really sorry for all the cat noise in the background this episode. What can I say? I literally record this podcast in my studio apartment. I don't have... Anyways. So apologies for any cat noise in the background. Something is probably going on with the moon and they're fighting. I don't even know. Sorry, I shouldn't blame the moon. You did nothing wrong, queen. But like KB and Edmund, all those little things add up, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm rooting for them, I have to be honest. Because I just don't... Like, there's a moment in the after party, or it's not an after party, when they do like this party where everybody comes back, including like Patrick and I'll get to him in a second. Patrick, Anna, they have a conversation. We find out about the Patrick Casey fallout that we haven't gotten context to, all of that. Like, when everybody comes together, there's like a moment where I can't remember who it is. Is it Annie who says like he's the best person or something? Or somebody says something about how somebody's super handsome and Edmund's like, oh, that must be nice to hear. And she like takes that personally as if he's saying that like she doesn't compliment him or something. And that became like a thing where I'm like, maybe it was edited weirdly, but like unless he said, I never hear stuff like that, then like the way she reacted, in my opinion, it became a bigger thing than it needed to be. And there were just like a lot of little moments like that where I'm like, I don't know if Edmund and KB are really... I don't know. I feel like she deserves better, and I feel like he needs to work on himself a bit more, but I don't know. I really appreciate him as somebody on my TV. You know, like he's a great character. I think they did a good job casting him, and I do think KB, of all the people on the show, is a good match for him. And so in that regard, it's like, I don't know. It's really hard for me because I think... I always try to watch these shows with the lens of like, this is heavily edited and we only get so much of these people's lives. And at the end of the day, they are strangers to me and I don't know the inner workings of their relationship, like on a true, deep personal level beyond like the clips that are edited together. So it's hard for me to be like, I don't think so. But it also has to be said that there are some things that it's like, if this happens and it's just like, I don't like that. You know what I mean? It's a tricky situation. Because I do feel like there are moments that I can make judgment calls and I'm like, I don't think they should be together. But then there are other moments where it's like, well, I don't think they should be together, but do I really know? So I guess I always err on the side of, I don't think they should be together, but what do I know? So that's where I stand with KB and Edmund. I really like KB. I'm rooting for Ed. Like I wish them both well. Annie and Nick, I don't care about them and I don't like them. I have nothing to say about them. I feel like they will probably end up together. Okay, actually, I do have something to say about Annie specifically because she was in a love triangle with another guy whose name I don't remember because literally I don't care with the homophobic people. I'm sorry. I don't know if the other guy's homophobic. Maybe he wasn't. But I don't think they ever had a conversation about gay people that was edited into the show. So he might be homophobic. He might not be. Maybe that was the deal breaker. No, I'm kidding. The deal breaker, like the thing that really swayed her to Nick was that this guy whose name I don't remember, was not very, like, he wasn't good at, like, expressing himself to her. And I do remember vaguely, based off of what I remember of them in the pods, that he wasn't really being very direct and, like, communicative about how much he liked her. So I'm not saying that that is an unfair critique of him in the pods, but what really irritated me was that she runs into him, or not runs into him, she sees him at this after party where everybody is gathered, and he's very cordial with her because she's engaged and she broke up with him. And she has the audacity to be like, see, he's not showing me interest. I made the right decision because he wasn't showing me interest in the pods and he's not showing me interest now. And it's like, you're engaged to somebody else. What did you want him to do? Be like, hey, I still like you. And if it doesn't work out with the other guy, I'm here. That would make him look horrible. Even if we were rooting for him, like, that would be a horrible thing to do, okay? Even the people who were Team Conrad could recognize that Conrad being like, I still love you, the day before Belly's supposed to get married is a little bit out there. So, like, he would not be seen as a good guy, I'm sorry. Especially because he wasn't super, like, communicative in the pods. But that really irritated me, because I'm like, what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? You're engaged to somebody else, okay? Not everybody can pull that off, okay? Conrad Fisher is, like, unique in that capacity. And the only reason that worked is because him and Belly had a deep, deep bond. I'm sorry, whatever your name is. You do not have that with Annie. But anyways, and Annie and Nick seem fine. I feel like they'll probably end up together. Maybe they won't. I don't really care about them. I really don't. Like, I'm sorry. There's, like, it's just one thing after another. Like, first you're pro spanking your kids. What's wrong with you? Then you're homophobic. Grow up. Losers. Sorry. But I'm not sorry, actually. Because gay people are losing their rights. So if the worst thing that happened to these losers is being called losers by me, then I don't care. All that being said, obviously don't send people hate on the internet, okay? Just block them and never forget their names. Ignore them. Just don't. That's my approach to things. I block a lot of people, so literally just, like, send them to obscurity, because at the end of the day, attention is still, and, like, this obviously doesn't work for everybody, but there is a group of people that, like, as long as they have attention, they don't care if it's negative or positive. So, like, don't let people rage bait you, okay? Just block them. That's what I do. So that's my Nick and Annie thing. I really don't care about them. I will say he has, like, a house in the mountains, and it was, like, a beautiful house. That was cool. But, like, that's all I have to say about Nick. I really don't care about him. Anyways, or Annie. Madison and Joe, they're just not good together. Like, and I know I literally just said, like, less than 10 minutes ago that, like, who am I to judge? And yes, who am I to judge? Okay, I don't know these people. Maybe they'd be perfect. Maybe they are perfect together. I don't know. But based off of what we're getting, I'm like, why are you together? Why are you together? Like, why are you together? They don't communicate well. It's, like, genuinely exhausting watching their scenes because it becomes, like, such a big thing when it doesn't need to be. Like, there's a conversation where they're talking about Madison's going to introduce Joe to her family, and she's never introduced anybody to her family. And he's like, aren't you nervous? And she's like, not really. And he's like, it would be more human to be nervous. And then she's like, oh, what? You're saying I'm too sure of you? It becomes, like, this big fight where it's like, okay, it did not need to be that serious. He didn't need to, like, phrase it in that way. He could have de-escalated if she, like, started getting annoyed. He could have been like, no, I didn't mean it that way. Like, obviously, I'm glad that you feel sure of me. But, like, I'm just saying, if you do feel nervous, if you feel anything negative, you can express that to me. Like, there was a way to communicate, hey, if you're feeling anxiety or nerves or anything, you can communicate that to me, which I think is what he was trying to say. But it became this big fight of, like, what are you even fighting about? You know, like, it was so exhausting where it was like, what are you fighting about? You're just fighting about, like, the way you said something instead of what you're actually saying. It was so annoying to watch. Like, they do not resolve conflict well. It escalates, it becomes a fight, and it's like, what are you even talking about? It's so annoying. And when we pick up in Mexico, before they, like, go back to Denver, we, like, pick up with their fight that I talked about in my last episode where he was clearly, like, incoherent, and she, like, got overwhelmed because he was so incoherent, that it's like the most unserious thing where he's like, come back to bed, and then, or she's crying outside, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm crying. And he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, well, you could come check on me or something. And then he's like, but I'm in bed. Then she goes in bed, and like literally 2 seconds after she gets in the bed, he gets up and goes. This could be edited. Like maybe she was outside there for a while, and it wasn't so quick where it seemed like she was just like, come check on me, and he's like, I'm in bed. And then she gets in bed and he gets up. Like maybe she got into bed like an hour later and he needed to pee. Who knows? I don't care about the intricacies. The point is that things escalate and like become things so unnecessarily with them, where it's like it didn't need to become this thing where she's like, well, come check on me, or like, oh, you, so it's a bad thing that I'm so sure about you, or like it becomes this thing where it's like, why are you guys arguing? What is the fight here? Please. I'm so confused. I'm so confused watching them. I'm like, what are you guys even fighting about? What are you even fighting about? It's so annoying to watch. It's so annoying to watch. It's like the fight isn't going anywhere. At this point, you're just fighting because you're upset that, like, about the way somebody said something. You're not actually having a discussion or a conversation or even really an argument. Like, it's not even like I feel X and you feel Y and we're disagreeing about you feeling X and me feeling Y. It's like I feel X and it's like, why do you even feel X? How dare you feel X? I don't like the way that you communicated that you feel X. It's not actually even a real fight. It's like, what are you guys talking about? It's really annoying to watch. It's really annoying to watch. The meeting of the families go well, though, with them. And, like, I don't know how I feel about Joe and Madison. I'm like, I don't think you guys should be together. I do appreciate that they followed them. Like, I do think they're interesting. Sometimes irritating to watch, but still something. I'm feeling things when I watch them. And that's always good TV. Even if I'm annoyed, even if I'm angry, at least I'm feeling something. Because it's like, and not just like feeling something in that, like, I hate them or like, because I do feel things when I watch Nick and Annie, but it's never pleasant. It's never like, or even, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in them. Like Madison and Joe, I am interested to see what will happen next with them. And that's always good. I feel the same way about KB and Edmund, where I'm like, I don't know if I'm rooting for them, but I'm interested to see how things go with them. If they break up, how will that happen? I'm interested in their story, I'm interested in Joe and Madison. If they fall apart, how do they fall apart? If they end up together, how do we get there? If they do get married, what was their life after like, and are they together? Like, I'm interested. I'm not invested in the, like, I'm rooting for them to be together, but I'm invested in the, like, I want to see what happens next. Even Ali and Anton, who, like, there wasn't a lot there in the pods, and I didn't even really feel like there was a lot there. Like, in the first drop, I didn't feel like there was a lot there. Now that we have some conflict, I'm actually invested in their conflict, like, what's going to happen next. And so in that regard, I am glad that we're getting Joe and Madison. I find them to be intriguing. I'm interested in what's going to happen next. Do I think they should be together? No, I don't. I have to say, something I really like about the Love is Blind social media is that they include people's star signs. And KB is a Virgo and Edmund is a Libra, and it kind of shows. Like, I don't know the rest of their charts, but, like, KB is so clearly an earth sign to me in the way that she communicates. And I think a lot of, and again, not to psychoanalyze, but I think Edmund's, like, I think it goes beyond being an air sign. I think there's trauma and stuff to work through. And I say this as an air sign and also somebody who's trauma. Like, I'm not in any way bashing him, but you can really tell that KB is so, like, I really appreciate the way she communicates. Like, I really appreciate, I like her. It does escalate sometimes. Anyways, not to go back to the KB and Edmund of it all, but I really like that. Anyways, all that to say, I want to check, because I don't remember. But, I need to see their star signs, because I need to know what Joe and Madison have going on. Joe is a Virgo, and Madison's a Leo. Okay. Joe doesn't really give Virgo to me, but I also don't, I have to be honest, I don't know any Virgo, like, I don't know many Virgo men. I don't know any straight Virgo men. Like, the only Virgo men I can think of are not straight. And I don't know if that plays a role, but I imagine it does. So I don't really know. But, like, Very interesting in that regard. But anyways, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, I'm interested to see what happens next, but I'm not really rooting for them. Let me talk about Patrick, Casey, that whole saga. So we find out from Patrick at the party that he has not spoken to he has not seen Casey in person since they got back. So like the last time he saw her in person was what we saw. And we also find out that she is refusing to give him the ring back. And I find that really annoying. Like, I'm sorry, I find that really annoying. He doesn't even know all of the context of, like, she's straddling him and, like, leading him on physically, but then telling the camera that her attraction is not going to grow. But, like, I really try not to vilify people on reality TV. I'm not saying, like, do not send her hate, okay? Never send people hate. It's unproductive and unnecessary. I disavow sending anybody hate in any capacity. But I really don't like Casey. I really think that the way she treated Patrick was completely uncalled for and unkind and really just, like, nasty and mean. And I really don't think she should have done that. I think at the end of the day, in general, I think one of the worst things you can do when you're, like, breaking up with somebody is lead them on or be unclear or just, like, you know, and I'm not saying you have to be, like, rude. You don't have to be like, you're ugly. But I don't think in general there's any necessity of, like, being unclear of, like, it's just the show, you know, that's, like, unnecessary in general. But I think when you are on a reality TV show, especially a dating one, I feel like you should, in my opinion, as a viewer of reality television, I've never been on a show, so I would say this as an outsider. But I feel like if you're going on a reality TV show, specifically a dating one, I feel like you should have in mind that the way that you treat these people, not only are you on a personal level impacting them and you should treat them with kindness and, like, care, but also the way you treat these people, the way you talk about people will be seen on a global scale. So not only are you blindsiding somebody or leading somebody on or whatever you're doing, which would already be hurtful, there's an added layer of that other people are going to watch this happen to this person. So I just can't imagine being on a reality TV show and, like, knowing that other people are going to see me talking about somebody and then be so like, I can't imagine being like this person, like, because it's not just that individual person that you're hurting. It's amplified because then everybody's going to be like, oh, this person's stupid, or, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, all these people have to watch you be talked about negatively or led on, or, like, and yes, people are on his side, but it's still, like, that's already a very deeply personal thing to go through and, like, a difficult thing to go through. And it's just amplified when it's on this public platform, if that makes sense. So I really don't like the way that she handled everything. But then after the fact, to, like, not give him the ring back, it's like, what are you going to do with it? Like, what are you going to do? Like, I really hate that. I'm sorry. Patrick seems like such a nice guy. He and Anna have a conversation, and Anna bothered me here. I like Anna, and I understand kind of her thought process, because she's like, well, I left and then you got engaged to somebody, so, like, how was I supposed to know you liked me that much? And he's like, it would have been you. And she's like, yeah, that's easy to say, but, like, if it really would have been me, like, wouldn't you have left? And it's like, it's hard for me to say, because I understand that perspective of, like, well, if you're sure about me, then you should be sure about me. But I think Patrick specifically, my read on him is that he was very genuinely into the process of, like, I'm going to give this a fair chance. So I think when Anna left, he was like, well, I want to see this through. You know, that's what Patrick was giving to me. I think Patrick really wanted to try this. Dating hadn't worked for him. He'd had all these insecurities. He really wanted to try to love somebody beyond that. Like, I think that was something that he genuinely, like, I think there are people who go on the show and they're like, I'm here for the show. And then there are people who genuinely go into it because they're like, I do genuinely think that this would be a really beneficial way to fall in love with somebody beyond the superficial stuff because of X, Y, and Z. And I do think Patrick was somebody who genuinely was really open to the process because of his insecurities, which I've said many times. I think if you're insecure about your physical appearance, I think Love is Blind is the worst show to go on. But I understand why it's like sold to you as like, this is where like being shallow is like not part of it, you know? It often just ends up like, anyways, at the end of the day, you're attracted to people, you're not attracted to people. And I think trying to deny the fact that like if you're not attracted to somebody, you can like force yourself to be attracted to them. Like, anyways, I don't need to go on my Love is Blind tangent every single time. But I do genuinely believe that Patrick was like super into like giving it his best shot. So I don't blame him. I understand why he like wanted to see it through. And I think also, I was talking to my sister about this, we don't get a lot of information because of the way that Love is Blind is edited and like the way that like they focus on couples where it's like, it seems like Anton and Ali get engaged after like 2 days, but really everybody's there for the same amount of time and it's just cut weirdly and out of order. And I understand why they do that because it would be like probably boring if it's like, you know, we do 5 reveals in a row. I get that. I'm not shitting on the way that they do it. But I think because there's no like time, like there's no information of like this is day 2. It's like, what day did Anna leave? Because if Anna left like, it's a 10-day pod experience. If Anna left like day 7 or 8, I'd be like, okay, I get it. She'd be like, well, we saw basically this whole thing through and he still chose somebody else. But it's like if Anna left day 3 or 4, at that point, over half of the pods are still going and a lot can change in that amount of time when you're spending so much time talking to people. So it's like at that point, it wouldn't be fair for him to like leave because he doesn't know you well enough. Like he's not invested enough. So for me, there's a lot of information missing. It's like, how long were they even talking? Because if Anna left somewhat at the beginning of the experience, then it's like, well, Patrick has over like half the time to still see it through. I don't think that he would, you know what I mean? Anyways, so it's like, I don't really blame Patrick for the way it happened. At the end of the day, it ended up screwing him over because Casey was like, you know, was there anybody I forgot about? I'm like, I don't know if I talked about all the couples, but I really can't think of anybody else. I think that's everybody and everything I wanted to talk about. Sorry this episode is probably shorter than usual. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. Like and subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube. My social media is linked down below, so you can follow me there if you're interested. And I hope you have a great week. If you have any television show recommendations, please let me know. And you'll hear from me next week. Bye.